Day two of the Mid-American Conference Tournament is complete here from Rocket Arena in Cleveland, Ohio. Tyler Kavalecz alongside Lucas Kleimeyer from the Falcon Media Sports Network. Yesterday we had the women's quarterfinal games. Today was the men's quarterfinal slate. So we are officially 8 games down in this tournament, 6 remaining to go. We'll have semifinals and then championships over the next 2 days. But today was just full of close contests, upsets, just kind of tournament mayhem.
Yeah, I would agree there. And it all got started, and now we'll obviously talk about the first game, Miami UMass. It was a lot of upsets, and I think this is what's the beauty about the MAC is you see these kind of upsets, you see these kind of back and forth games. I think a lot of our predictions we probably had or assumptions we had of how these games were going to go, it didn't turn out that way. And obviously, it started out with Miami UMass, and it just kind of just went through the rest of the day with the games. We saw tons of upsets, and it leads to a really good semifinal bracket, a mixture of 4 teams, at least for the men's side, that we just haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, you would start off with that Miami UMass game. The Minutemen pull off the biggest upset
Yep.
in the Mid-American Conference schedule this season. They defeat the Miami Redhawks. Miami came into the game 31-0. They were the only remaining undefeated team in the country. They seemed like a lock for the NCAA tournament because it seemed like they were a lock that they were going to get to the MAC tournament championship, if not win it all. They don't get past the quarterfinal round. UMass really controlled that entire game. They were playing with house money.
Yeah.
Frank Martin's squad. Frank Martin, a guy that's taken teams deep in the tournament before at different colleges. He had them prepared, ready to go.
Indeed, and it's a score you never really expected. And the whole talk about Miami is, what if they did go out in the first round? Will they still get in? And we've heard opinion from Frank Martin. We heard opinion from Todd Kowalczyk. Obviously, Travis still talked post game, about opinions of they want Miami still in because it's not just good for obviously Miami. It's good for the conference. It's good for the MAC.
It's been since 1999, the last time men's basketball for the MAC had a two-bid conference.
Exactly, and obviously it won't be Miami. They're knocked out. So will we see 2 big conference? I think so. I mean, I really do. We'll see. Miami's been not just the best team in the regular season for the MAC. They've been one of the best stories in all of college basketball.
Yeah.
They've been a big media.
I would say the best story.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. And obviously they got upset. UMass won that giant run towards the very end, took advantage of it. They only hit 3 for 15 shooting from beyond the arc. UMass did. Foster Ross and I had the chance to call that one, but that's basketball. That's tournament basketball, man. I mean, it doesn't matter. It comes down to very few plays, and it came down to the last play, one possession, UMass and Miami. UMass got to win.
Yeah. Action continued in full swing in the next game. BGSU against Toledo. Battle of I-75 Part 3. Just the third time that these teams have ever met in the Mid-American Conference Tournament since its inception in 1980. Toledo moves to 5-1 in those matchups against the Falcons. It was the first time they'd faced off in Cleveland in 18 years, and it was a nail-biter all the way through. Toledo got off to a hot start. BG worked their way back into it. In the end, Toledo comes out with a 1-point victory. They win it after Bowling Green had a chance at the buzzer. Justin Thomas's shot falls just short off front iron. Toledo survives. Bowling Green season is over.
Yeah, and you see the way the bracket shapes out. Whoever was going to win this game had a great advantage now that Miami got knocked out and they knew they were going to face the last seed UMass. But it's hard to feel anything but a little bit of sorrow for Bowling Green in a way, but they battled. That was a really, really good basketball game. And obviously, the talk will obviously be the first game we just talked about with Miami UMass, but that was back and forth. Toledo kind of jumped out to that big lead at the start. Javante Campbell got in the foul trouble at the start. Didn't really have an impact at all in the first half. To obviously turn it back on the second half, and he got more minutes, and obviously did what Javante Campbell has always done this season. And Bowling Green battled back. They won that long run. They had the lead for good stretches in the second half. But again, it's similar to what we talked about the first half. It's back and forth. Toledo made their shots. Bowling Green made theirs. And that same town steal with under a minute to go, you thought that was probably the turning point and probably the play that decided Bowling Green was going to come away victorious. At least that's what I had in my notes writing down for that one. And it ended up not being it. Toledo even misses a free throw in the last couple of seconds. And it took a last-second Justin Thomas attempt that rolled around and you looked like it was going to fall through, and it ended up not. And buzzer sounds, and that's the difference between you win and you lose and your season's over. And they talked about that post game, and you feel from the guys. Simon goes to now 1-3 in the tournament, but this was a team that fought through decent amount this season, and they got a good matchup. But it's rivalry. It's a rivalry game. It's tournament basketball, and again, it's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything though that you wanted out of a rivalry game, especially at a conference
100%.
tournament stage. Everything you wanted out of that, but the action continued in the next 2 games. It didn't let up from there.
They did, and for at least mine's money's worth, Akron is the best team remaining in this tournament. John Gross most proven coach in this MAC, most proven coach in this tournament here in this building. Take care of business against Buffalo, and don't really know if a lot of people had much anticipation for this one. Really, just the way it matched up, in Buffalo just not being a really well-known team really in this one. But Akron, had a pretty large lead over Buffalo. They had a double-digit lead going into halftime over the Bulls, but Bulls battled back, and they did what they did. They swung all the way back, tied the game at one point, got it down to a couple possessions, last couple minutes in the game. Akron, Tavari Johnson found a way to pull through, and they did that again. They're going through the semifinals once again for a Buffalo team that has a very young head coach, a lot of players that aren't really well known in the conference. They made their names known tonight, with that. Put up a fight against the team that is now favored probably to win this tournament, but it's almost like the same old is, the team that gets it done in the tournament and moves through.
Yeah, 6th straight semifinal appearance for John Gross in the Akron Zips. It's just a machine. It doesn't matter exactly what bodies are there. It's kind of what we talked about with Ball State for the women's side. It's just plug and play. That system is going to work, and it has at Akron. John Gross, just an incredible mark in the MAC tournament now. Akron, like you said, going to be favorites for their 3rd straight MAC tournament championship. Their 4th in 5 years is what they'll be going after. And I think you're right, though. Buffalo, George Halkovich III. A lot of people are going to be paying attention to them going into next season. We'll see how rosters shake up, but they're going to be a team to watch. A lot of young talent on that team, young coaching staff. They got a lot of energy. We'll see how that plays out. But, then you have the final game of the day, which I feel like is a little slept on matchup that turned out to be a fairly solid game.
I think it was, too. I don't think Ohio is a 6 seed per se in that one, but Ohio and Kent State was the last game here. Obviously, Kent State being the 3 seed, Kent State victorious in that one over Ohio. And again, another game where it looked like Kent State was going to pull through. I mean, Ohio did also start out well. Aiden Hadaway had 20 points in that first half before second half wasn't quite the same as what he wanted in the first. But Kent State, again, besides Akron, you would probably argue that they're also one of the top proven teams in this tournament. Obviously, they made a conference championship a couple years ago. We saw them too. Rob Senderoff is also a proven coach in this league as well.
Yeah, for sure.
As well. And, again, Ohio might have been a tough draw for them at the start, but that was a pretty good battle. I think one of the best 3 versus 6 matches you're going to see. Kent State, again, just overall just got the job done towards the end of it. Well, and you're seeing a common theme here with this one, besides obviously the UMass game, is you're seeing these teams that have either won regular season championships, have been at the top, or have won it before. They find a way to pull through. You have Toledo, you have Akron, and you have Kent State. It's 3 of the 4 similar faces and teams that you've seen over previous years, which has been at least one of my big takeaways.
Yeah, I think that game's completely different if Aiden Hadaway doesn't foul out. Gets a technical foul to get kicked out of the game. And when I say kicked out, I mean fouling out in terms of the number of fouls. Wasn't like he did anything. Yeah, it wasn't like he did anything malicious to get kicked out of the game. But he only plays 26 minutes. He scores 24 points. He was dominant when he was in the game. When he wasn't, Ohio had to scratch and claw for things. Jackson Pavletsky, he didn't have his A game. Pavletsky only scored 10 points. It really didn't take a high volume of shots. I think it was only 6 shots that he took. He did not ever get going with his motor, and credit to Kent State for taking him out of it. But I think that proves something, a bit of a question mark for Kent State. Their defense is usually the hallmark of Rob Senderoff teams, and they showed up a little bit against Ohio. Again, like you said, Kent State's a veteran team, veteran coaching staff. If they can get that defense going a little bit like they have in March and previous years, they are a team to watch out for.
No, they are indeed, and obviously they'll have Akron in the semifinal round, rivalry game here. They played in the conference championship here in this building a couple years ago. It's a Friday night game. You and I will be on the call for that one, so it should make for a great atmosphere for that one as well. And the winner of that has a ticket to book for the championship game against UMass or Toledo, which on the other side is you have a UMass team that's not playing with house money. They just beat the team that went 31-0. And won every single close game you could possibly imagine down the stretch.
Well, and we talk about Senderoff. I mean, Frank Martin is as veteran as they get. He has more NCAA tournament success than any other coach in this tournament. So, if you're a UMass fan, I feel like you have a pretty good feeling putting your money on that team and that coaching staff.
No, you definitely do indeed, which should make for a couple of really good semifinal matchups. They'll obviously have the night one as well. Got a couple women matchups as well.
Yeah. So before we go from here, let's do a couple Falcon 4 takeaways. So for me, first of all, it's got to be the upsets. I feel like, last year we talked about it off the air multiple times throughout this tournament. It was really scratch all the way last year.
Yeah. It was
across
chalk.
both
It was
tournaments.
chalk.
It was
Yeah.
chalk.
Yeah.
So this year, it's been really exciting to see some upsets back in the
Mm-hmm.
tournament setting,
Yep.
which you always expect, especially with Mid-American Conference basketball, with mid-major conference tournaments. It's great to see upsets. You never know what's going to happen. The first two games of the day were as thrilling as they could get, and I mean, you're not going to get a bigger upset than that UMass Miami game. And then the second takeaway for me is that every single team in this tournament has to play a full 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I think some
Yeah.
teams let off the gas a little bit after 30 or 35. Every single game that we had here today came down to the final couple minutes, if not the final minute. There were a lot of games. The Akron one's a great example where Akron builds a 16-point lead. They let that go real quick. That gets within one, that gets tied. These games have to be played a full 40 minutes because in a tournament setting, every team is fighting for their season.
Yeah. And my first one, Akron's a team to beat.
Yeah.
And John Gross talked about it post game. He kind of joked about it. He joked in an interview that, people were automatically assuming that them and Miami were all going to meet in the championship.
Yep.
And he said, I thought we were playing Buffalo. And this is a team, just hearing from John Gross, hearing from Tavar Johnson, and the rest of the Akron players post game was they are concentrated. They're focused, and it starts from Gross because he's done it before. He made them all locked in on Buffalo, gave Buffalo all the respect in the world. Now they move on. Now they know they play Kent State team
Yep.
they're very, very familiar with. Take care of them, and then they go on to the championship. It's just a very much of seen it, done it. Let's do it again before. It's just
Well,
that
and a
kind
Kent
of
State team that they just have a ton of success against.
Yeah.
They have Kent State's number for whatever rhyme or reason. Akron's had it in recent years.
Just Akron, they're going to be there. They're going to be there for a while. We got a darling. We got a darling.
do.
UMass is the
We
darling.
do.
The eighth seed is in the semifinal round. I am definitely giving them a chance against Toledo because you never know what happens. If you can beat a team that didn't lose 31 straight games, you can definitely beat Toledo team that, for all intents and purposes, may not have the regular season that they wanted. But again, they got done against Bowling Green in the first game of the conference tournament. We'll see if UMass can make it to the championship.
Yeah.
This is their first MAC tournament run. This is their first year in the conference. It's their inaugural run. They got their first ever MAC tournament win against the number 20 team ranked in the country. That's something that their program is always going to remember for. Let's see if they can keep the momentum going tomorrow. Let's see if they can get that chance to play for the chance to take it for the big dance on Saturday against one of Akron or Kent State. I think it'd be good for the conference. Good to see. It's a UMass team that played terrible down the stretch. They won one game in how much of their final last games, before coming to this one, and they beat Miami. It shows you that anything can happen. People love darlings. That's why people love March Madness. That's why people love tournaments. We got one here. Let's see if UMass can keep it going.
And you know what they say. Records don't matter once you get to the tournament. Everyone's 0-0. Now you have some teams that are 1-0. And those 1-0 teams get to face each other for a chance to advance to that championship and punch their ticket. Because that's what it's all about. It's punching the ticket to the NCAA tournament. It's looking like we could have a two-bid MAC, which I think is the most exciting thing.
That's exciting.
I think we can agree on that one. That's the most exciting thing out of this tournament. We'll see what the selection committee has to say on Sunday. But up until then, we're going to have coverage of this tournament wall to wall.
Yes, we will. We got 4 semifinal games obviously tomorrow. The women will start us in the morning, 10 a.m. start. And in the morning, the Miami women's team will take on Ohio, rivalry game right there to open that one up. And then following that one will be Ball State versus Toledo. Ball State could probably make an argument they're the best remaining women's team in this conference. They'll be right after the conclusion of Miami and Ohio. They'll take a little bit, a couple-hour break. And then the first, obviously, semifinal matchup will be UMass and Toledo. And then following that one, a couple hours later, will be Akron and Kent State, which is just a fantastic way to cap off Friday night action here at Rock Arena in Cleveland. We will have full coverage of broadcasts, print, social media, highlights, photos, you name it. We'll have it all on bgfalconmedia.com and right here at BJ_FMSN on Twitter X. So until then, we'll see you here tomorrow.